presentations in the language curriculum are organized into 4 distinct but related strands: literacy connections and applications, foundations of language, comprehension, and composition. When planning for writing opportunities, it is important to consider a variety of writing experiences throughout the literacy block and throughout the day. The ultimate goal is to have students express their ideas and create a variety of texts for a variety of purposes. For example, students may use their writing as a way to show what they learned after reading a variety of articles on an environmental issue of concern. They may want to write a letter or email to a local politician, persuading them to take action. They may want to express their thoughts through journal writing or poetry, or showcase their creativity by writing a fictional story. In addition to teaching the writing process and the traits of good writing, we need to teach students foundational writing skills so they are successful at writing words and sentences. The purpose of this webinar is to explore simple ways to teach foundational writing skills in the junior and intermediate grades. It is important to remember how interconnected the strands are. So while we're teaching the foundational writing skills of Strand B, it is important to practice with authentic writing opportunities as students learn about a variety of different text forms and work through the writing process creating texts. This can occur as students learn how to express their ideas in writing during the literacy block or throughout the other content areas. In the early grades, students learn the beginning skills of word reading and spelling. Although these skills are explicitly taught in the early grades, the Ontario Language Curriculum states that throughout the grades, students continue to build and apply phonemic, phonics, orthographic, morphological, and vocabulary knowledge to develop their spelling skills. Phonemic awareness is the ability to hear, segment, and blend individual sounds in words. Phonics is the systematic and structured teaching of grapheme-phoneme correspondences, or the letters that spell the sounds we hear, and how to use these to read and spell words. Orthographic knowledge is knowledge of the English spelling system and its patterns. For example, knowing when to double a consonant when adding ing. Morphological knowledge is understanding how prefixes and suffixes change the meaning of words, and vocabulary is understanding what the words mean. All of these skills are critical for writing words and sentences. For further information on these foundational skills, be sure to check out further webcasts in the ETFO Local Workshop series, specifically the Alphabetic Principle, Phonological and Phonemic Awareness, and Building Our Collective Understanding of the Science of Reading. These videos are very helpful in understanding how children learn to read in the earlier grades, or for students who are still in an early phase of reading. One powerful strategy to help students practice all of these skills in writing is to explicitly teach a spelling routine that students can use when they don't know how to spell a word. Here's an example of a spelling routine that is highly scaffolded for our early writers. Let's use the word photosynthesis. The first step is to say the word out loud, photosynthesis. The next step is to count the syllables. You can have students draw a line for each spoken syllable. Pho, to, syn, the, sis. Next, we want to say the sounds in each syllable. Students could draw a little dot for each sound they hear. F, o, t, o, s, I, n, f, s, I, s. Next, we want to spell the sounds for each syllable. This is when we also teach the students that each syllable must have a vowel or vowel sound. Students may know some of the spelling rules already, or they may spell the word phonetically. Either way, at this stage, we just want the students to represent each sound with a letter or series of letters. So for example, a student might write F-O, T-O, S-I-N, T-H-E. They might hear the sound, but already know that the is spelled T-H-E, S-I-S. Now, if I had a student who was struggling with spelling, to spell photosynthesis like this, I would be very impressed. Next, we have students check the word. They might check with a dictionary, print or digital, a friend, or the teacher. At this point, the teacher can give some feedback to help them learn the word. For example, they might say in the first syllable, you represented the f sound with an F. That is the most common. However, sometimes it is represented with a PH, like in the word phone. Then you might say in the third syllable, can you think of another way to spell the I sound? They might know it's Y, or you might have to tell them. Now, you can have the student write out the word in full. This simple strategy is effective for your whole class and is essential for your early writers. You could make an anchor chart with your class to explain the steps. Some students may need to use all of the steps, while others may only use some of the steps. Simply by using this spelling routine, we are providing opportunities to consolidate foundational skills and giving students strategies to use when they are unsure how to spell something. This process also allows teachers to see which spelling mistakes students need to work on. For example, if students are always using single vowels to spell words, then it might be time to do some explicit teaching around vowel teams. In the junior and intermediate grades, word level spelling is about using morphological knowledge. This means we need to explicitly teach students how to spell base words, prefixes, and suffixes. The bonus is that through teaching morphology, students also comprehend what they are reading a lot better. When comparing grades, we can see that it takes students several years to master this skill. A word matrix is a great way to help students write longer words using prefixes, suffixes, and base words. For example, students could make smaller words like helps or helped, or they could make a larger word like unhelpfulness. This template comes from OnLit's Free Teaching Morphology Resource Kit. Some students in your class may require further spelling support beyond writing prefixes, suffixes, and base words. The Language Foundations Continuum for grades 1 to 4 helps educators determine what skills students need more time to develop. Educators may choose to implement a spelling inventory or phonics writing assessment to determine the skills to teach and work on. Words Their Way Spelling Inventory is an example of a spelling assessment you can give to students. There are simple directions and sentences to read aloud. The students write the spelling words down, and the teacher can use the feature guide to see which skills students need to work on. Teachers can choose to implement the primary, elementary, or upper level spelling inventory, depending on the needs of the students. Another important skill for our writers is the ability to write sentences and to know the syntax or order of words within sentences. The Language Conventions Continuum shows the syntax, sentences, grammar, and punctuation to teach from grade 1 to 9. They are coded by I, C, and R, where I is initial development, C is consolidation, R is refinement. We can see from the chart for syntax and sentence structure that the 4 types of sentences, simple, compound, complex, and compound complex, are the key skills to consolidate in the junior and intermediate grades. Let's have a look at some strategies for teaching sentences. Sentence scrambles and sentence fragments are a way to show students the syntax of sentences and to teach students how to write or expand proper sentences. For example, in sentence scrambles, you provide students with sentences and have them put it back in order that makes sense. In sentence fragments, you provide students with the fragment and ask them to complete the sentence. Next, we can teach students to expand their sentences, moving from simple to complex. Start with 1 or 2 words on the board. For example, the turtle. Then ask, what did the turtle do? And have students add to the sentence. The turtle swam. Where did the turtle swim? The turtle swam in the ocean. What did the turtle look like? Continue to ask questions, ending with a more interesting and expanded sentence. This strategy can also be used as a revision strategy for writing. It is important to design writing instruction that motivates and challenges students to write for different audiences, purposes, and contexts. Some examples include emails, blogs, podcasts, brochures and flyers, stories and poems, reviews and reports. In this webinar, we looked at ways to explicitly teach and reinforce the foundational skills of Strand B through writing. It is important to remember how interconnected the strands are. So, while we're teaching the foundational writing skills of Strand B, it is important to practice these skills within authentic writing opportunities. Be sure to provide students ample time during the literacy block and in the content areas to learn about and practice writing a variety of different text forms as they work through the writing process, sharing what they've learned and expressing their viewpoints and ideas.